Time now for a little show we like to call Off the Mic with Mike and Gasia. Just a couple of people navigating the world of broadcast news in the San Francisco Bay Area. Mike anchoring in the evenings, Gasia anchoring in the mornings. We're both raising a couple families and just moving day to day. Gasia, hello to you and hello to a busy night in news. I mean, we had the Golden State Warriors trying to punch their ticket to the NBA playoffs. We had the mayoral election in the city of Oakland, and really all coming down to the wire for the 10 o'clock news because these were two evening events, and we were 60 seconds out from the newscast. We didn't have this shot. The Warriors were up by one. It was a stressful evening. I can get into a little bit more, but how was the morning? Because you picked it up just a few hours after we were done.
Totally night and day, right? Because you guys, it was crunch time for you. By the time I woke up, right about the time you're probably getting to sleep, things had settled. We knew the Warriors won, so like that's great news. Not so settled though for the Oakland Mayor's race. At this point, we're watching for new results. We don't expect those to be released in the coming hours, but still we were out, trying to get a hold of the candidates, talking to Oaklanders. I have to say, because the morning show starts at 4 a.m. and we just got off the air at 10 a.m., we have a lot of time to describe what Oaklanders are feeling and doing. And also we got kind of deep into the ranked choice voting system, which Oakland uses. So at this point, the top two contenders, the former city council person, Laura Taylor, and the former longtime Congresswoman, Barbara Lee, they're separated by about 1,200 votes. And then once you keep going more rounds of ranked choice, that's kind of what we're really focused on.
So we go on at 10 last night. It's like 9:30. And I'm like, God damn it. Loud, like in the newsroom.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking, they're like, what, dude, what happened? Or did we lose? Like, is something wrong over at Lauren Taylor's campaign side? And I said, no. I'm like, the Grizzlies are on a 13-2 run. They're coming back.
I knew it. Okay.
It's hard because like I'm supposed to be dialed in, on the election and the results. And we got the first dump of votes a little bit after 8 o'clock. Okay. And it's like, oh, Lauren Taylor's winning. Wow. That's kind of big news. Although if you asked his camp, he would expect that. And then the next batch of votes we knew was going to happen between around 9:15, 9:45. We didn't know if that would change the race. Would Barbara Lee jump in front? And the Warriors game was going a little bit later than we thought. So, yes, I'm supposed to be dialed in on the news side of it. And then I make the decision. And I think my EP, my executive producer, my producer looked at me like I was crazy. But we had the Warriors as a chunk a little bit lower in the newscast. Not too low, but like, 15, 20, 10, 20. And I said, look, if they win this, we cannot bury this has to be up. Like that's me talking as as a newsman, but also as a fan. Like we can't just ignore this.
Right.
And when there's a little bit of a pause, right? There's that newsroom pause. Yeah. Are you crazy? Are we really doing this? Are we really switching everything around? And we make the decision to do it.
Oh, good.
So it was a little stressful in that aspect because when I went out to the studio at 9:50, the Warriors game was about 30 seconds left. We didn't know because if they lose, then the plan kind of fizzles. They're like, well, this doesn't really make sense, Mike. Why did you decide to do this?
Right.
So we're gambling in this aspect. And so we didn't have that. And then it's like 60 seconds out from the newscast. We decide to go to Lauren Taylor's campaign party first because he's in the lead. Right. So Amber Lee, our reporter, standing by with him. But then at the same time, we up on the monitor, we see Barbara Lee is now addressing her party.
Speaking. Yeah.
So we can't ignore that, right? But she's not in the lead. So we're making these decisions. We're now 30 seconds out. Saying, where do you guys want to go? And we said, let's address Barbara. We can talk over the shot. She is addressing, but right now it is Lauren Taylor. Let's go to Amber Lee. And she executed perfectly. Yeah. She did a 5-minute interview. At this point, I'm learning that the Warriors are done. The Warriors have won. So we're going to continue with our plan and move forward. And we have Betty Yu out there at Chase Center ready to get reaction from fans.
Yeah.
Then we're looking at Barbara Lee. Amber is wrapping up her interview. And Greg Lee's at that campaign headquarters. And we can see his photographer's camera in the monitor. And it's bouncing up and down like they're walking through the crowd. I'm like, oh, my God, they don't even have her yet.
Yeah.
Like, and Amber's wrapping up. They're coming to us in the studio. Okay, we're going to have to dance a little.
Yeah.
And what they call stretch a little bit. Oh. Unfortunately, we don't because right when they come back to us, the camera locks down the tripod. Greg Lee's got Barbara Lee right next to her. And then we're like, okay, thank you, Amber. Greg, you're standing by with the former Congresswoman, Barbara Lee, with her reaction on the results. Let's go to Greg. Boom. He does his 5-minute interview. We come back out. We go to Betty at the Chase Center. Crowd's going crazy. She's got this amazing reaction from all the fans. 15 minutes into the newscast, boom, we go to commercial. execute it.
Wow.
Right. So it's all that craziness and the stress. And then right when we go to break, Chris gets in our ear and goes, wow, I didn't think this was going to work, but that was good 15 minutes. Thank you both. And we said, thank you. And then off we went. And that was, as you know, and you've experienced this, but the stress, the highs, the lows. But in the end, I think we did what we did for the viewers, and it all panned out.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, number one, good thing you made the call early on of like, hey, I think we should pull the Warriors up. Thank goodness they won. But, to have you describe what you and I have been through for the past several years, sort of inside as an anchor, relying on our field crews, right? You've got one at candidate A, one at candidate B. And, you described you see the shot and they're walking through the crowd and the candidate we're supposed to be talking to isn't there yet, like that nervous. I remember as a reporter here at KTVU and my previous stations, let's say, you're in the field, it's election night, you're at candidate B's campaign party, right? What they hope is a victory party. And the producer is telling you, okay, we're going to come to you in 8 minutes so you can interview the candidate. And all of a sudden, the candidate's standing beside you, and you're like, I need to go now. So the communication from the field crews into the control room. Yeah, I need to go now.
Now, put me on
now.
TV.
And it's like you feel like you wish you could just kind of like reach to the phone or reach to the screen and say, come to me now. So it's just, I don't know that people at home understand kind of all the things that need to line up, because if you're like, now let's go to campaign party B where so-and-so is standing by, and all of a sudden the person's like, actually, they're not here yet. There's so much behind the scenes communication that happens to prevent what I call ugly on the air. We don't want ugly on the air.
No.
We can go back and forth in the newsroom all day long and, have deep conversations before and after newscasts. But like in the moment, it takes concise communication. It takes, I'm ready now, or she's not here yet, or, it's, I have to say of all the things we do, election night is one of my favorite. And I spent a lot of nights here on election night. And so I will say the morning after an election, much like today, it's a time to sort of digest what happened. But on nights, you're like, we are swimming in it as it's coming out. Like, it's a dog paddle, and I love it. And frankly, I miss election night. I love election morning the next day, but election night is special.
And I've covered many of election nights as a reporter and now anchor.
Yeah.
And look, let's be honest. On our end of this gig, I mean, election night, you want to kick ass, like you want to win.
Yeah.
Like there is competition out there, and if you're trying to get a live one-on-one interview, there's 4 or 5 other stations waiting on your side. There is nothing like that, because the light's on you and your candidate, and you just saying, hey, you can wait. You can wait. We're doing this right now. And we had that a little bit last night, because the last thing you want to do is come back to that newsroom and someone else beat you, and like you didn't have that first, so you didn't have that, and it's just a terrible gut punch of a feeling. But hey, when you win, you win. And on that note, I want to talk about this a little bit, because look, from 2010 to 2022 in the Bay Area, we had 7 championships.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I'm going to go on the sports thing here, because I'm going to play off the Warriors win last night. They are the 7th seed. They will play the Rockets starting on Sunday, 6:30 our time out west. And look, to me, last night I came home and I was just so happy, because sports makes me happy. The Warriors make me happy. The Giants make me happy. The Niners make me happy, as someone who grew up in the Bay Area. And I go back to 2010, and the Giants won that World Series. And we were coming out of, some tough times in the country, and like the recession in 08. And no matter what happens, this is what I feel, Gasia. Maybe you're with me, maybe you're not. But no matter what happens, when a championship team is in your backyard, and you could be down there, you could be there, you could favor this person politically or that person politically. It just seems like you put your weapons down and everyone comes together. And that year and the other 6 years, quite honestly, it's great to see the community come together, to see the Bay Area come together. And for some reason, sports just does that. And I saw that last night, at Chase Center, and I could hear the voices screaming in the neighborhoods. My flag was up here, and I'm excited for this run. But there was just something about championship sport teams and seeing the Bay Area come together.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't follow sports quite as closely as you do. I don't think people are surprised to hear that. But, when it comes to this point, like where we are with the Warriors and back when the Giants were winning the World Series, like there comes a point when not even Giants fans, like those people who don't usually watch, they're watching now. People who don't follow the Warriors are following now. So it really is an everybody thing, and it buoys the whole community. You see people wearing jerseys to work, and just kind of like there's a lighter mood, there's an excitement. I mean, given what we're dealing with post-recession, I'm sure bars and restaurants are thrilled because now more people will, head out, grab a drink, grab a pizza. So it kind of lifts everything. I will never forget, they sent me to cover the Super Bowl back. It was Super Bowl 49, right before Super Bowl 50 was here in the Bay Area at Levi's. And so I'm all the way in New York. The Niners were not in it. And they assigned me to, cover the Super Bowl. It was on Fox that year, but find people from the Bay Area who are in New York to see the Super Bowl. And I will never forget walking through, Times Square in New York and seeing people and being able to spot them a mile away in Niners gear. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, let's talk. Are you from the Bay? What are you doing here? Are you excited? And so it's just such a nice way. It's like an invitation for people to say, hey, go Niners, or, go Giants. I've seen it happen many times since then. But are you ever like off in like the far flung place and you're wearing like, your Giants hat or something and people go, hey, Bay Area?
The best thing, I think I may have mentioned this in possibly episode 3 of the
Hmm.
podcast, but one of the best things about getting the job back here at KTVU was coming home and actually just seeing Giants hats,
Oh yeah, you
A's
did.
hats, like Niners hats. Like after living in Arizona and Colorado, I was in Colorado when the Broncos won Super Bowl, so it was terrible. In Kansas,
Yeah,
it was just great to come back home and be around people that
yeah,
love the same teams that you loved. And
yeah.
I remember covering pre-games with the Giants when they were in the World Series, and I don't know if it was 10, 12, or 14 with you though. I mean, we would be outside the ballpark. And for someone in your aspect who, yeah, you didn't follow sports, but during those runs, you were following sports. So
Yeah.
what popped the most for you when you were outside the ballpark down there? What
Oh
stood
my
out the
gosh.
most for you? And did you find yourself like rolling with this swell of motion with everyone?
I think 2010, and I know you and I were out there outside the Giants ballpark at least once in that series. It showed me what sports means to people, as in, there were people coming to the game who were like, I wish my grandfather could be here. He and I would watch Giants games together. People who say, oh, my mom was an ardent Giants fan. She passed 3 years ago. She's with me today as I walk into the ballpark. Like I'm getting chilled right now, right? It's like sports is family, right? And
Yeah.
sports goes back over generations. And because I didn't really grow up with sports, I saw it and I was like, oh, I'm happy for you. But man, that 2010 with the Giants World Series win, it showed me
Awesome.
that it's so much more than baseball. It's family, it's dedication, it's hope. We had Betty Yu, she was reporting, like you said, at Chase Center last night. We had one of her pieces in our morning reporting today on the Warriors. And I love the soundbite. And there was a guy who said he's in Chase Center and he goes, I'm feeling everything, right?
That's
He's
so awesome. I
right?
know.
He's excited. He's relieved. He's curious about what's next. Like, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm feeling everything. And I thought, perfect. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being the Catholic I am, and it is Holy Week, I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, there was a part of me praying last night. I'm like, let this thing roll, right? I want this playoff. I want this so bad for
Yeah.
everyone, for all the fans, because
Yeah.
it's been a while for the Warriors. And I remember in 2010, I covered every game for the Warriors or for the Giants, except the first game of the World Series.
Okay.
And my boss at the time let me go as a fan. So my college roommate, Duke, came up from LA and he took me to the game
Yeah.
because he knew how passionate I was about it. And we
Nice.
sat upstairs, last row, and we won. It was a great game, a no doubter.
Yeah.
And again, just hugging strangers,
Yeah.
going outside the yard after we took the ferry to that game. We missed the ferry on the way home because we were celebrating so much. We didn't even win the World Series yet. It was just the first
Yeah.
game.
Game
I
one.
remember
Yeah.
I called my wife. I'm like, hey, there was no Uber or anything, right? I'm like, hey, we missed the ferry. Can you come in and
Yeah.
pick us up? And she's like, no. Like my son was 6 months old.
Yeah.
So, we walked to the financial, we tried to get a cab. Anyways, long story short, that was the one game I got to enjoy as a fan. And
Yeah.
then the other highlight for me after we won it was the parade and all the
Yeah.
parades. And I'm lucky enough to be able to cover the parades and stand. One of the great shots I have, a still photo of me standing on Market Street, towards the foot of Market,
Yeah.
right? The street's blocked off.
Yeah.
The crowds are lined 20, 50, 25 deep, people hanging from, the buildings and putting signs up. And it's just me and no one else on Market Street. And it's one of my favorite photos because it's like a culmination of everything for me and my work and my life and what I've strived to be. And that is, a good employee, a good Bay Area resident, a good Giants fan.
Yeah.
And it all came together, and so I think, again, to my point, sports, and I hope it happens again, the Warriors go deep in this playoff run, and that the entire Bay Area, because the Warriors are a Bay Area team, comes together, and we put our arms around each other, and we charge to this life, and try and get another title. That would be sweet.
Yeah. I love listening to your stories. You were out in the field. I think I was mostly in the studio when we had like the giant celebrations and even when the Warriors were winning. But, those days, and I'm imagining for you especially, it's like, your life as a reporter blended with your life as a, regular Mike Mibach, because you were assigned to cover a story that was really near and dear to your heart. I mean, you probably would have been at that parade if you had the day off, right? But you got to go in your capacity as a reporter. And so when people ask, like, what's the coolest story you've covered, I usually immediately go to things that feed my personal self as well as my professional self. So I remember seeing you in the field. I think Sal Castaneda was out there. Claudine Wong did a great job covering those parades and celebrations. And I was like, wow, you can see your natural enthusiasm. You're totally into it. And I was like, this is one of those awesome days where you're like, I have the best job ever.
I got one more, and then I'll go back to 2010.
Okay.
I was at Kezar Pub in San Francisco during the NLCS Giants Phillies,
Yeah.
and we went on a strikeout, and everyone's just going crazy. And for a moment, I forget what I'm even doing. Like, next thing you know, I'm behind the bar with the bartender, and he gives me a bottle of champagne. And we start spraying the crowd. Like I'm supposed to be like working.
Mike has lost his mind.
And it's just like that, just pure energy and love of sports and where you live. And it's just, I'm very blessed. And I love what we do for a living. And anyways, I just wanted to bring it up because I think as the Warriors win, that's the time to do it. So I hope you have a good rest of your shift. I'll be there in a few hours.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Actually, before we do the new newscast, I'm looking over there assembling a meeting for Zip Trips like we do, every Friday, every other Friday. We take the show on the road. We feature communities. You used to do this, right? Feature
back,
cities.
and I love the Zip Trips.
Yeah, so the Zip Trip meeting is right over there and it's getting underway. I have a couple pitches, so we'll see if they're accepted. But people have been, they sent us notes all year long, and the planning process starts super early. So I got to go to that. Then I get to do the noon, and then you and I'll probably pass each other in the parking lot as you're coming in. Congratulations to the Warriors. I'm glad we had chatted. This is truly my favorite part of the week, Mike.
I love it. Pitch away. Have a great meeting. I'll see you on the backside of our next episode. As our good friend once said, once in a while, you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right. See you around.